Okay, so our lesson today is on solving inequalities. And so the foldable, if you're home and you're doing this, and you can just write down the problems as we go. But for the most part, it's just like you solve an equation where you are um, isolating the variable to one side. Now, we do want the variable on the left side of the inequality once we're done. So we'll start off with where you fill in the blanks for the steps. So we're going to say you're going to use the distributive property to remove any grouping symbols. You're going to combine the like terms on each side of the inequality. Number 3, move the variables to one side of the inequality, just like if you were solving an equation. And of course, to solve an equation, we always use the inverse operations to solve. There's a little star here. It says don't forget to switch the inequality symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative. Who remembers doing this last year? Great, very good. Okay, so this will seem really easy because we already know how to isolate variables and get to get a variable to one side of the inequality symbol. So the steps to this will seem pretty familiar. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with question number 1. So if you have variables on the same side, you want to first group them together. So if I have 8x minus 6x, I want to group these together first. Okay. So how many x's do I have on the left side so far? 2x, right. So I'm just going to simply write 2x minus 5. That's what I have left. And then to isolate this variable, I use the inverse operation. So now I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, just like we were isolating if we were solving an equation. And divide by 2. I don't need to reverse the inequality symbol because that was a positive 2. So x is greater than 7. Now I do want these in set builder notation, so you'll put your bar there and write x again. Put it in the little set brackets. Okay. The other step we're going to do is actually graph on a number line. So when you're making your number line, I only really need you to show 2 numbers. Show where 0 is on the number line and then the number that you're actually graphing. So don't put like little numbers in between. Just 2 numbers, 0 and the number you're graphing. So even if the other number had been 7/3, you would just put 0 and 7/3. Okay. Now, since this is just a greater than symbol, then I'm going to put an open circle on 7. That means you're not including 7. And then you shade your graph to the right. Okay, so if it's just greater than or less than, you use an open circle. If it has the equal sign under it, then you use a closed circle. Okay, so that's like a little key for you. So if it's just greater or less, that's not inclusive. And this means you are including because it also says equal. All right, so let's move on. Number 2, here I'll have to distribute first because I have these parentheses. So I'm going to say 6x plus 12. Okay, that's the distributive property there. Then I'll bring down the plus 1. It's less than or equal to negative 17. Right? Then I'm able to combine the 12 plus 1. So that's going to give me 6x plus 13. Is less than or equal to negative 17. And then we do our inverse operation by subtracting 13 from both sides. Okay, that's going to give me negative 30. And then when I divide by the 6, I'll have x is less than or equal to negative 5. Okay, and again, I didn't have to reverse it because that was not a negative 6. So it's only if the coefficient is negative, it's when you would reverse the inequality symbol. And we'll get to one in a few minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to make my number line. Indicate where 0 is. Indicate where -5 would be. This one would be a closed dot. And less than would be to the left. All right, moving on to number 3. Same process. We're going to combine the 4x minus 9x. So how many x's do I have left? -5x. I can also combine the plus 8 and the plus 2. So that's going to give me a total of what? 10. So now I've simplified it, and now I'm going to subtract 10. So I'll have -5x is less than -15. Now, this is where I have the coefficient being negative. So when I divide by this -5, okay, I'm going to reverse the symbol to greater than. And a -15 divided by a -5 is a +3. Okay, simply finish it by writing it in Set Builder. Make my number line. Open circle on 3, shade it to the right. Any questions so far? Very much like when you are solving an equation. Hold on. Variables on both sides. So obviously you got to get them all to one side, right? So let's just get all our variables over to one side. So same when we were doing equations, and my rule of thumb is to get rid of the smaller one, because then you're not dealing with a lot of negatives. But it really doesn't matter, which side. But we did say we would like to have all our variables on the left. So let's just make sure they're all on the left so we don't have to do any changes at the end. So let's go ahead and subtract 4x. So that's going to give me how many x's on the left? All right, so I'll have 9x minus 8 is greater than or equal to -26. So I'll have 9x is greater than or equal to -18. And it's okay if the constant is negative. Okay, as long as the coefficient is not negative, I don't have to reverse anything. So don't get confused. Okay, it's the number that's with the variable. So I'm going to end up with x is greater than or equal to -2. And just put that in Set Builder notation. Okay, make your number line. We'll indicate 0. And we'll indicate -2. Okay, close dot. And greater than is to the right. So that simply means any number that is -2 or greater would be a solution to the inequality problem. Okay. All right, so I'm going to let you do questions 5 and 6. Okay, and then I'll just come back and we'll just go over what the answers are. Okay, so all right, so you guys are going to do 5 and 6. So for number 5, you should have x such that x is less than 9. Okay, so that means you should have an open circle on 9 shaded to the left. Okay. All right, who can give me the answer to number 6? Okay.
X such that x is greater than -3 over 4.
That one should be x such that x is less than 6. Okay, so you did have to distribute this 3x minus 3 here. You should have ended up with 9x's over here, 9x minus 1. So then you have to move all of your x's to one side. So when you move, since it has to be on the left anyway, and you had 9 here, that's going to give you a negative 2x over here. Okay, so just go back and check your steps. Okay. All right, any questions on this? All right, so if you go to pages 1 through 4, okay, page 1 is what we did when we did translating equations. So it kind of just gives you a review of that, how we put in the different names for the different operations. You guys remember doing that? Okay, so that's just like a review page. Then when you go to the next page, it gives you the inequality symbols at the top, and they also have keywords that we can use to translate. Translate simply means, guys, that you're not solving here. You're just going to take the sentence like 16 is greater than a number divided by 3. So what would that look like? 16 is greater than, so greater than symbol points to the right. Greater than a number divided by 3, so that would be like x divided by 3. Okay, a number would be your variable. So on this page, I'm going to have you all do some problems on this page, and then you're going to be following your calendar for your homework. Okay.